proposed several bills raising the minimum wage, but they all failed. However, a 2014 LSU poll shows that 74% of Louisianians actually support raising the minimum wage to $8.50 an hour, with that amount automatically rising with the cost of living. So beginning with you, Mr. Edwards, would you support an increase in the minimum wage, and if so, what is that?
Well, first of all, I do. I call on Congress to increase the minimum wage. It's been $7.25 since 2009. There are now 30 states plus the District of Columbia that have a higher minimum wage than that's set by Congress. Congress ought to do its job because $7.25 is not adequate compensation for an hour's worth of work in 2015. We need to move forward. If Congress won't do its job, we will do it in Louisiana when I'm governor over 2 or 3 years and a couple of steps. I happen to think the $8.50 on the question that you asked people is about the right amount. And I think it's important that we do that because it is about making sure that the single mother raising kids can go to work and support herself and her family and lift those children out of poverty and give them a better chance of success here in Louisiana. I think it's the right thing to do. I believe it's something that Congress ought to have done a long time ago, and I hope that they will. It is always preferable to have Congress do that so we have a national uniform rate, but if they refuse to act, the government will do that.
Thank you, sir.
Fred, I would not be in favor of that because I believe the premise of your question, quite frankly, is exactly right. You said that would help these young people. The problem is there are plenty of independent studies, latest one is Texas A&M, that says that minimum wage increase would kill 2.3 million jobs nationwide. And guess what, Chris? Those young people trying to work in their first job, trying to step up the ladder of success would be the first ones to be thrown out of that opportunity. Instead, I would focus like a laser beam on skills training. Give young people and others the skill set that they need. We have wonderful jobs in Louisiana, good paying. You don't need a 4-year degree. For many, you don't even need a 2-year degree. You need the right skill sets. When you have that, you can be a 21-year-old earning $55,000. In 4 years with overtime, you can be $100,000. We need to focus on skills training, not eroding those entry-level jobs.
Situation where you either raise the minimum wage or you do skills training. I will do both. It's called a compromise. Every day, go to work, they don't move, they don't live in poverty. We can do that. This is not a different situation, but we can do both. We can chew gum and walk at the same time.
Senator, your first job after being elected, Mr. Edwards, will be to fill your cabinet and executive staff. Governor Bobby Jindal cast a wide net to put higher salaries in place. If elected, will you give Louisianians the first shot for jobs? Will you keep Governor Jindal's pay increases?
Well, Jackie, absolutely. I want a cabinet administration full of great, bright Louisianians who represent all parts of our state. Now, I will not keep in place those salary increases because in some cases, like the head of LED, Louisiana Economic Development, they were quite frankly outrageous. So we're not going to keep most of those salary increases. I certainly will cast a net very wide for talented people of all backgrounds and walks of life in Louisiana. My administration will be the best and brightest of all of Louisiana. It will look like all of Louisiana, and it will help unite all of Louisiana around the positive plan we need to execute to get us out of the ditch and on the right track.
Okay, so thank you very much, Senator. Mr. Edwards.
Well, first, we're not going to pay the same salaries that Bobby Jindal's been paying. They're exorbitant. They're too high. We're going to reduce those costs right off the top. I will tell you, we are going to cast a wide net of competent people here in Louisiana. We have very, very good public servants. We have knowledgeable people, experienced people who can run state government here in Louisiana. And I am committed to having a government that looks like the people of Louisiana. We will have diversity, not just in terms of cabinet level appointments, but on boards and commissions, people who work in my office. Everybody in Louisiana deserves the opportunity to see someone in state government who looks like they do. That's important to me. I think it's not just important for the sake of appearance. It's important for the sake of governing properly so that we can know that we understand the situation in Louisiana and we can fashion solutions to actually address the problems around the state. So we're really how people in Louisiana.
You both said that you want to restore funding to the state transportation fund. As governor, you're going to be asked to fix as many road problems just as quickly as you can. But with the $12 billion shortfall, you're going to have to make some tough choices. So can you tonight, Mr. Edwards, you first, list the top 3 roads you would fix or expand for the next year?
Well, first of all, it is a tough situation with respect to infrastructure in Louisiana. There's a $12 billion backlog, as you mentioned. The money is not there presently. We are taking some steps to move in the right direction. I'm going to get the state police completely out of the transportation trust fund, fund them separately without any cuts. I will put $60 million more in the transportation trust fund. I will allocate an additional 25% of the capital outlay budget each year for transportation infrastructure. That will be an additional $75 billion. We will double the Port Priority Program overnight. Clearly, the single biggest road infrastructure improvement that we need in Louisiana is the I-10 corridor through Baton Rouge. I am committed to working on that. That's the only pressing priority. We have I-49 South in Lafayette, I-49 North in Shreveport. We have off-ramps that are needed on 10 and New Orleans to the airport. All of these things are priorities, but they're all going to require a strategic plan to get the money necessary to address those needs. Because it's inhibiting, first of all, it's a quality of life issue if you're hung up in traffic, but it's inhibiting commerce and economic development and job creation.
Thank you, sir. Same question to you, Senator.
Yeah.
Can you identify 3
Sure.
roads you go
Three vital projects. I-49, north and south. I-10, the bridge in Baton Rouge. That is the mother of all traffic jams. It is the center of enormous problems in terms of quality of life here in the capital city. And other key infrastructure in high growth areas like the river parishes and Lake Charles. There are several important projects there. Now, I just don't talk a good game about that, Fred. I've done it at the federal level. I've been involved in infrastructure, and through my and others' work, we've moved Louisiana from a donor state. We used to get 89 cents on the dollar back to Louisiana for every dollar federal gas tax we sent. Now we get $1.03. And so we've moved in the right direction under my and others' work. And I'll bring that same can-do spirit and real change to Baton Rouge. And John Bell is talking about rating, the problem with rating the state transportation trust fund. It is a problem, and he voted for it over and over and over. He voted for 5 out of 8 Bobby Jindal budgets, all of them rated the state transportation trust fund. The last one that was supported, only 11 cents of the dollar of every trust fund, of all the trust fund revenue is actually going to transportation, roads and bridges and concrete and asphalt and steel. That is a travesty, and John Bell Edwards voted to get us there.
Thank you, Senator. Mr. Evans, you have 30 seconds to respond.
Well, first of all, I have cast hard votes in the legislature to fix the transportation trust fund, something he only talks about. We actually voted for revenue this year to get the state police out of the transportation trust fund completely. That will happen when I am governor in my very first budget. That will put $60 million more towards roads and bridges and Port Priority Program in Louisiana overnight. That is my record. You know, I don't even know the last time the Senate passed a budget.
Thank you very much.
We'd like to end on the personal note. Both of you have focused heavily on your wives in your campaign and on the campaign trail. Senator Bitter, your wife has in the past served as your campaign manager and filled in for you at your first campaign from your kitchen table. So you have 1 minute to tell us, what does your wife mean to your campaign? Senator Miller.
Well, I'm going to change the question a little bit because what's far more important is what life means to me and my family. I mean, the campaign, win, lose, or draw, that's secondary to our kids, our family, everything. And Wendy, quite frankly, has been the rock of our family. She's got us through good times and bad times. 15 years ago, she offered her love and her forgiveness to me. And in the process, our kids learned an unbelievable life lesson. Of course, I wish they didn't need to learn it that way, but Wendy used the opportunity, and she sure as heck taught them and me that life lesson. She's been great at everything she's done. She's worked outside the home as a prosecutor. She works now as an attorney. But I think she would say her proudest moments are those 19 years she stayed at home with the kids and led our family in those wonderfully powerful ways.
Club. That's the percentage of cadets at West Point who started and finished with the same girlfriend. So she is very special to me. She's a wonderful mother for my children. She has worked very hard in the campaign, and she works the room at least as well as I do. But I will tell you that the most important thing about Donna to me is she is a public school teacher. And Donna, every day in our classrooms educating our children. I know what heroes they are. I know that we ought to hold them up. We ought not blame them for all the problems that we have in our society, which is what's happened under Bobby Jr., which is shameful. And she helps me to stay grounded when it comes to public education and what our kids are facing out there, what teachers are facing every day when they go to school. So she means a lot to me personally in terms of my life, our marriage, but being the mother to our children, what she's done with the campaign, but making sure that I'm aware what teachers are facing every day has been one of her biggest contributions to me as well.